Your show's rubbish.
You want to introduce this one?
Yeah. Hello there. I'm just trying to do it in your style. Hello there. Welcome to the Trout Spinners. I'm Gary Forrestal. I know Miles sits there and looks at me when I'm doing instructions and thinks, how bland. Could this be any more bland? But yeah, I don't care.
Up, bigger bugadoo. Up.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you don't do that. Don't do that. Sometimes it's understated is better.
That's
Anyway,
true.
this is the Trout Spinners, but it's not a normal Trout Spinners. We've just finished recording a normal Trout Spinners, which is our review of episode 38, season 2 of the XFM Ricky Gervais show. But this is a special XFM in the community. We've had a lot of feedback over the New Year period, and which we're always very appreciative of. So yeah, Mars is going to read that out, and I'm going to react to it. Yeah, so we couldn't really put it in a main show, or the main show would have been, maybe an hour and a half, which is kind of too long for a show. We don't want to put out shows that long, and the audience certainly don't want them either. They're long. But
so you got the choice this time.
Anyway, we'll get straight into it, Miles, I think, today. And so yeah, hit me up with the feedback.
So just a little one to get us going. This is from Adrian McCormack, and he's on YouTube. And you can also listen to all of the shows on YouTube. We do put those out weekly there if you can't find them for any reason on Spotify or Apple, which you will always be able to. And he basically says, I have just discovered this podcast and I can't explain how much I love it. Great stuff. Please keep going. So thank you, Adrian.
Is that all he said?
Yeah.
I didn't mean that in like an insult.
What did you want?
Is that all he said? No, often they'll say that something nice, and then by the way, this I think this is the show. But that's lovely, Adrian, for you to just email that on its own. I really appreciate it. Thank you. What a nice comment. What a nice man Adrian is.
What a nice man
Adrian.
Adrian.
I mean that. No, he's really nice. Thank you, Adrian.
Absolutely. Now, something we spoke about last week, and Emmeline gave us this suggestion. And she said, can you name a piece of audio from the show and where you were when you heard it? Do you have a specific memory tied to a specific episode? And I put this out on Twitter and we got some good responses, so I thought I'd read some of them out. So this one's from James Doherty. I've got so many fond memories. One that sticks in my mind was I was on a train going to the football, laughing obviously. However, it was when Carl had an arm wrestle with a kid on the train. The "you're muscly" had me crying out loud for ages.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's a great example. Yeah.
This is from Gregor. Gregor says, listening to them talking about old Mother Hubbard whilst on a night shift in a closed Asda, stocking the milk and yogurts. I love the detail.
I relate to that. I've worked for Asda as well, stocking the milk and yogurts.
Tears of laughter streaming down my face. This one's from P9. About 2007, I heard for the first time, Christ, the bug, and spat my drink across the room.
It's always funny to see someone spit, like, I've seen that a few times happen, like when someone genuinely spits out their drink because they're laughing so much.
It's such a comedy moment.
Because it's so inconvenient for them, like it's so embarrassing, and it's in that to take the piss. But that's a very good story. Well, who was that?
P9.
P9. Is it a computer virus?
I don't know. This is from Newcastle Uncovered. This is a nice one. Walking along the riverside in Da Nang, Vietnam, listening to the bit where they talk about Bruce Lee being an undercover policeman and Elvis choosing how to fake his own death.
Yeah.
There's got to be shit involved. Got to be shit involved. Peter Fletcher says, not particularly interesting, but I remember working on a college project in about 2009 and showing my mate the accidental testicle removal. Hell of an anecdote there. Serves you right for asking me what I was doing 10 years ago.
Yeah. I like his style. What was his name?
Peter Fletcher.
Peter, you'll be presenting the next show in place of me. And then you can fill in for Miles. I like Peter's style. I like his style.
Yeah. Sean Wright, who is a patron, remember listening to Carl explain 15 Taiwan whilst on a Virgin cross-country train between Macclesfield and
I love these stories.
It's great. On a dark evening in the winter around 2014-ish. How do you remember that?
I love him that he's put where he's going to Macclesfield as well. Like, it's nice little detail like that. Well, these are all of these are kind of in the spirit of the show. Like, they're all clearly fans. You can just tell by their email what they're emailing.
It's
Not
great,
apart from
isn't
the
it?
fact they love the show, but just the style that they email him. So,
So
any
thanks for
more?
everyone who got in touch. No, that's it, I'm afraid.
Well,
But
why
always open
would
to
more
suggest.
people be bothered?
Yeah, well, they can now. But
Well,
thank you so much for Emmeline, who did ask us about that. Really great question and
Can I
really great
ask? Can I bring
responses.
something up here? I just want to say, are you a boy or a girl? Okay, because Mars is absolutely convinced you're a girl. Now I know Emlyn is a man's name. It may well be a female name as well, but it can definitely be a man's name. Emlyn Hughes, as an example. I just wonder, are you not in a really not in a creepy way. I just
He
we
says
just
that,
set
doesn't
the bet. Are you male or female? Because we had this with another listener, Francis, because I thought Francis was an E of Francis, and I think Francis is female. I think she said,
Some
but
Serbian roll, some
I
Serbian
thought,
roll.
well, what, being female? Just that, like, you didn't even put a joke around it. But yeah, but I like to know, just so I can kind of, you can picture like P9. I've got no idea. I don't know who to picture. But anyway, I don't want this to
Well,
sound creepy. But
you know,
Emily, please do let's settle a bet. Are you a man or a woman? A
definitely.
woman.
And actually, on that subject of gender, and this is a very interesting point, actually. This is from Stacey B. And Stacey says, I've been a fan of the XFM show since I was a teen. I am now 34 and still love them. I thought I
Oh,
was in the minority to have listened to the show so many times to know all of the jokes and know them word for word. So I was very happy to find this podcast, and we're very happy that you found us. I
yeah.
also wanted to point out, whenever I listen to the XFM in the community, I noticed that the listeners, or perhaps at least those emailing in, seem to be 99% male. I also know you often wonder about your listeners and the demographic, so I wanted to confirm I am a female who's in her 30s who loves XFM and your Trout Spinners podcast. Please don't ever stop. Hey, we won't stop if you'll keep listening. I never email into podcasts or anything of the like, so feel very privileged. I wanted to email you guys, and I really do appreciate that,
Well,
because I know
yeah.
to get that deeper engagement, people listen to the show and it's great, but it's so lovely to hear from all of you, and to take the time out of your really busy schedules, or not
Yeah.
so busy schedules as it might be
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah, really, really nice, and really appreciate. I ask you because I forget, like, short-term memory loss of the names. What was that's Stacey B. Stacey, thank you, and thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I would say it's an interesting point. I would say it's about 85%, 85 to 90% male, if I'm including all the interactions we have on Twitter and things like that. It's probably about 15% female, it seems to be. But it's an interesting point, because clearly the demographic who listened to the Ricky Gervais show on XFM when it was happening would have been largely male. And there's no biological inherent reason for that. I think it's so for me to say, oh, men kind of gravitate to that kind of comedy more than women do. You can't really say that, because you can't group people in that way. But I guess it just tended to appeal more to males, because you've got three males. It's all about male friendship and that. So I guess it kind of males gravitate to it, and it's a bit naughty, and it kind of like possibly males gravitate towards that. I don't know, but yeah, about 10% of our listeners are 10 to 15% are female, I think. And
I think, to put in a curveball in, we've heard from loads of Daisy and
Daisy,
Erin. There's loads.
Francis,
Yeah,
Erin. Oh
Francis.
yeah, Erin. What's happened to Erin?
I don't
I
know.
want to hear from Erin. Anyway, but yeah, thank you, Stacey. It's really, really kind of you to write in that way. You didn't have to write those in that way. So thank you. And yeah, we don't plan to stop until
Unless
we
one of
die.
us dies.
Yeah. Or
Gary.
what would happen if one of us died? Like, if one of us died, can we just say no? We won't carry on. The show will never be
I
carried on.
don't know. I mean, I would probably carry it on. I don't.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm having to bring this up, because I knew that would be what you do. No, seriously, if I died, you wouldn't carry the show on, would you?
Oh. Should we do the next one?
Hang on, he's being serious here. He means this.
We've got good figures already. I don't want to give it up.
If I
Got
died,
Yeah, but I'd put a plaque of the Trout Spinners on your grave, and I'd put little headphones on it, and I say you can listen to me when you're in hell.
play a record. I want to have a talk to you.
Yeah. So this is from Levi, and I know you've already spoken to Levi via email. Levi says, Miles and Gary, my name is Levi Collins, and I just want to say how glad I am that I have found your podcast. I have listened to 3 episodes, but I am truly hooked. You both have such a talent for podcasting. Unfortunately, I'm only 16, so I wasn't able to listen to the XFM shows during their original broadcast, and I didn't start listening to them properly until the second lockdown in November. But I've now listened to series 2 to 4 twice. I'm currently listening to series 1, and I believe you've already told Levi to seek out series 0.
Yeah, I replied to that one personally, which we do try and reply to all your emails, guys, but we sometimes can't for various reasons to do with our, what work we've got on that week. But we do try and reply. But I replied to Levi. First of all, just to reply again, thank you, Levi. That's really kind of you. And it's funny because day before, or only the day before, or a couple of days before, we had an email from a man. Can't remember his name, but he said, "Hi guys, I'm in my I must be your oldest listener because I'm in my mid-60s." What is his name? Can you remember?
Steve, I think. Yeah.
Steve. Yeah. So we had that email, and then what we had that was interesting to know that people are listening who are older than what we would expect someone to be, but there's no reason why we expect that, but because you kind of expect the XFM audience of the time to be in their 20s. I always do. So I always think 30s and 40s now are kind of what I would expect.
That would be my average.
But then a couple of days after that we got Levi's email, and he definitely must be at least one of our, if not our youngest listener. And it's interesting because I didn't really form my full comedy perspective and take sort of style, and I mean style not necessarily in my comedy that I'm giving out to people, but the comedy like styles that appealed to me. I didn't get that until I was probably 18, 19. So I think listening at 16 shows you a kind of comedic maturity to kind of buy into the shows so much as you have, a comedic maturity that I didn't necessarily have at that age. Yeah, really interesting to know that there's still people who are starting to listen to the shows.
What a thing to discover and to keep you entertained during lockdown and just to keep your spirits up. Because
are you talking about this now or
well, both maybe.
No, but it's fun. Yeah, it's a lovely thing to discover. And when I read Levi's email, I kind of thought, like, I felt a bit jealous because, and we've talked about this before, like the first time you hear these shows, all right, after you've heard the first 1 or 2 shows in their entirety and you bought into it, you kind of get it. You don't know everything about it, but you kind of bought into it. After that, listening for the first time is always the greatest pleasure.
It's a wonderful.
I've always said, actually, probably the second time you listen to any of the individual shows, probably the best, because you've listened once, so it's still quite new and fresh to you. It's still, we haven't heard it dozens of times, and you pick up bits that you didn't pick up in the first listen. The first time you listen, great. The first couple of times it's just heaven, and you can never replicate that again. Neither of us, and probably none of our listeners, most of our listeners, are nowhere near their second listen. Like they're on their 12th, 13th, 14th of each show. They're great. The 14th listen to the episode 38, the one we just reviewed, check it out. Oh, the 14th listen was great. The 15th listen was great. The 16th listen was great. But one thing I do tend to do with shows, though, is I sometimes give them a break for like about a year, and I don't visit a show for a year. And you kind of get a little bit of that new show smell and feel. It's kind of a bit newer to you again, and it's slightly more entertaining. But don't get me wrong, there's all very valid to listen over and over continually to shows. We all love doing it. But Levi, you're in the best period now. You're picking up stuff for the first time, and it's amazing, isn't it? Amazing. 16. He's got
so great.
Series 2 to 4. Twice, I think he said, and now he's on series 1. And I said to him in my email to him, I said, I think that's the best way to do it. You started the best way. Start on series 2. I would recommend to anyone new to the show. Go to 3, go to 4, go back to 1, go back to 0. then go to the podcasts if you want, or
And then we'll go to the Detroit Spinners.
Oh yeah, obviously go to Detroutees Spinners, leave the Detroutees Spinners. Like
I love it.
statistically, go to Detroutees Spinners, watch our first show, listen to our first show, and then never listen to anything ever again. Because that's
No,
statistically.
you're right. There are layers of enjoyment to be had, and each time is a bit different. This next one is from Phil Thompson. Thank you again for doing this podcast. It's great to have new content and insight. I've been listening to the XFM shows for about 5 years, having discovered them on YouTube. I even have my girlfriend understanding about the Chinese not aging well. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Phil. He's got the name of a famous footballer as well. So, but
Good on him.
yeah, that's because we've and I won't spend too long on this, but I'm always interested to hear about XFM relationships, and in general, the relationship is I like it, my partner doesn't. That's nice to hear. When your partner does kind of get it, we've even had the case of the XFM marriage.
Yeah.
Who flew to Canada
Brilliant.
from New Zealand. That was my favourite story. But yeah, it's always interesting how XFM plays out in a relationship.
Well, maybe we can put that out as a question to our dear listeners. We can say, what role does RSK XFM play in your relationship?
Well, that's like when he says we should make that record of the year.
Let's make a record of the week.
Let's make it. You did just ask it, so let's ask it. You did. You just asked.
This one's from Declan Swallow. He says, this is a very moving email, by the way. All right, lads. I've been a non-stop listener of the XFM radio show since 2011, and this is due to stumbling by chance on the bumbling round-headed twat that is Carl Pilkington on An Idiot Abroad. And since then, I've been unable to stop replaying the show over and over. What was once a weekly listen has now become a daily staple of my life. You and me both, Declan. The show was a friend to me whilst I suffered from depression and anxiety. I always knew that I could count on Ricky, Steve and Carl to put a smile on my face for those 2 hours for which I was invested. It has been a month that I have come across your podcast and I think it's absolutely brilliant. I have not been able to stop listening and replaying. The charisma and charm that you two give off is such a breath of fresh air, and I wish you the best of success. Thank you so much, Declan. That's really lovely. What a lovely thing to say. It is so grateful to know that there are other people out there that too also love the XFM shows. Enough love and success, lads. 104.9 forever. I love the sign off as well.
Declan. That's lovely. Yeah, that's really, really kind. And you're not alone in it's kind of getting you through this times of depression, anxiety, and things like that. We've heard from other listeners in the same. That's not at all to minimise your story of it. That's really interesting and important to know. But actually, with things like depression, sometimes it's good to know that other people do suffer in the same way and also take solace in some of the same things. So that's how I meant that. And yeah, thank you for your words. A breath of. I mean, we've described our smell like of many different smells we give off, but like to have a breath of what is it, class or something? I don't know. But yeah, it's very kind of you, Declan, and I hope that you are getting through your periods of depression, anxiety, and you may find that periodically they do come back for you, and that is normal. But I just hope they don't for a start, but if they do, I hope you can get through them with the XFM shows and other things. It's great that you have found the XFM shows for that reason, that it's got you through. So yeah, great, lovely story to.
I think it's also really nice, Declan, that I think your message would definitely resonate with other people and encourage them to.
And us.
Absolutely, but to seek out the XFM shows, because I do think it's so joyous to listen to, and it does put such a smile on your face, and you will be able to forget the world and just enjoy them and laugh. Just laughter is so important. It's so important to be able to laugh. Like, there are times that I've felt like down. Like this period of time, this lockdown's been particularly tough. I mean, can't imagine how tough it is for other people like working for the NHS or whatever. But it's nice to know that you've got those little rituals and those little things that you return to time and time again. That are reliable, trustworthy. And now I go to the shops with them in, or I cook with them in, or I go to bed with them in, and it's like it's great.
I was at the self-service checkout yesterday with
salmon.
No, I tell you, I was staying off salmon for. When you get ill off something.
Yeah.
And I was scanning my. I'm not going to lie, wine, because I was starting to feel better from my illness, and I had other things, and it was I'm not a character, and you know, Mars and I, we joke about it. I don't really laugh out loud that much, but I do. As much as I ever do, a laugh came across my face then, or a
Wow.
big smile,
How
because
about that? Tell you what, actually, on the subject of Gary's laughter, and I don't know, you don't know this, Gary. So
Right.
surprise! I actually did a call out on Twitter. I want to do make Gary laugh, a new feature.
Okay, I didn't
Right.
know.
Okay. So I've had a few people email me, and make sure you just put "make Gary laugh" in the header if you email us, or on Twitter, and you can message us there, and I'll make sure that Gary doesn't see it. But I can
Send
say
images of Mars's penis.
no, there's none available. But
Oh.
I can say I'm keeping them back, and I think maybe next show we can do a make Gary laugh special and see if we
Yeah,
can see if we can crack a smile on that wry, old, dusty, statuesque face of yours.
thanks, mate. He's my best mate. That's my best mate talking. That's like saying, and that's your girlfriend,
That's
Carl.
your girlfriend.
Yeah, no. I said to you, we talked about this off air. I said you should do a Make Gary laugh because I'd quite like to hear what you have to say. But to involve the listeners, yeah, that's great. We'll be doing Make Gary laugh next week.
Something to look forward to. And our last one for this special XFM the community. This is from Mike Green. Mike Green says, "Hey guys, stumbled upon your podcast with the Dick Meister general interview. Great interview.
Oh,
We loved it. Excellent work, chaps. He really wasn't I expected, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Anyway, I've just caught up on the Laurie Peters interview. I had completely forgotten about the dilapidated mansion video. I remember how absolutely bonkers that sounded at the time, but having said that, that's not much in the world of Carl Pilkington. Laurie talking about Carl's and his childhood also reminded me of the fact that I worked on their old estate a couple of years ago. This is brilliant, Gary. It was a job that lasted about 12 months in total, which I mostly spent trying to figure out which house had the horse in it.
oh, really?
There are still quite a few characters knocking around the area, one involving a guy who let his dog repeatedly urinate on my mate's tools, to which he, the owner, would always say in a Manc accent, "He ain't done it again, has he, mate?" But it doesn't, but it doesn't quite have the
Oh,
reputation
yeah, you go. You made me laugh. Yeah.
that it used to. I was tempted to ask some locals if they knew the Pilkingtons, but it felt a bit stalkerish, and I bet people ask that all the time.
Yeah.
Laurie also reminded me of the horse in the house animation I did for one of my final university projects. I will have to dig it out of its shoddy tin pot glory and put it online somewhere. Hey,
Oh,
Mike,
dig
if
that
you've got
out.
it, do send it to us and we'll share it via Twitter. I'd love to see
Yeah,
it.
yeah, dig that out, Mike. And is there more to his email?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Anyway, keep up the good works, chaps. Hopefully, I'll be all caught up at some point next week. Here are some rockbusters I did for my XFM quiz. People are doing their own XFM quizzes. I'm loving it during lockdown. I'm not. This
Oh,
is one of those.
no! It's another shark in the tank. I don't like it. I don't want. And you know, they'd say there's another shark in the tank. Like if you've got a celebrity presenter who's in a particular niche, they don't like other presenters kind of coming through the ranks because they're like another shark. No, I'm completely joking, Mike. I'm really glad you're doing a lockdown quiz, and delighted that Rockbusters is part of it. But yeah, do you want to quickly whiz through these?
Let's do it.
I'm
Yeah.
only saying quickly because Mars has got a meeting to go to. So
They don't need
thanks
to
for
know
the
that.
rest of your email, Mike. Really,
Here are some rockbusters. So, one, if we can't do it Monday to Friday, when should we do it? That's TW. The second one,
the weekend.
hey, not bad. You got it.
Yeah,
How did you know that?
I know the weekends because I knew a guy who was going out with a girl in a different band that the weekends or something. Oh no, that was the Saturdays. Forget that. That's all that whole anecdote was wrong. It was the Saturdays.
Rubbish. Rubbish, shite.
Is craptic a word?
But you got that, so that's all right. The second one, the man grouting the kitchen couldn't have done it any quicker. That's TS.
Taylor Swift.
Do you know why it's Taylor Swift?
Because he's tailoring a property in some way.
Tyler Swift. Tyler Swift.
Okay.
Tyler Swift.
That's the level of crap dick that I expect from our listeners when we do
And
it.
the last
And
one.
that's not an insult. I genuinely like that. Yeah.
No, you better not. Number 3 is if the backstop was still to happen. Oh, a political one. Here we go. If the backstop was still to happen, we should make them pay for it. This will all be lost on Gary because he doesn't know this artist.
What's the initials?
Oh, sorry. BE.
I'm just trying to think of someone young who's got that like who I wouldn't know. Well, let me guess. So, what was the clue again?
If the backstop was still to happen, we should make them pay for it. That's BE.
Something like Billy
Yeah.
Aisha or something. I don't know.
So close. Billie Eilish is the artist.
Yeah, that's
Bill the Irish, right? Bill the Irish. That's a good one.
Oh, yeah. I didn't actually know that one. I don't. But Billy, I have heard of Billie Eilish. I know nothing about that person, but non-binary as they may be. But I don't know. I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Not, we don't know.
Billy could be a Billy Piper or a man. Anyway.
Because he wanted to. But can I just say, Mike Green, thank you. That we love those Rockbusters.
Thank you.
Mike, also Gary, he's joined up to be a Patreon.
Oh wow, thank you.
Yeah, and that's a note for everyone. If you want to get some extra shows and hear more nonsense from the Trout spinners, do sign up. You can donate any amount, and you still get it. It's just lovely to get anything. It's like comic relief, but not going to little. It's going to privileged white cis males.
Yeah, well, speak for yourself. I'm Jewish, so I'm a minority in a way. No, but no, thank you. Pay whatever you want on Patreon, absolutely. Thanks, Mike, for joining. Really appreciate that. And thanks for all your emails that we've gone through today. That was sort of New Year, so they've been coming in since sort of Christmas when we recorded our last show. And we'll be back with a main show. Episode 39, season 2. Our review of that next week at some point. I love these XFM in the community specials, Mars. I like some of those emails I had read or heard because I do read the emails, despite
do ya?
Opinion. Yeah, I do, but I prefer to have a reaction as natural as possible on air, so I don't kind of read them before we go on air, and I really enjoy reacting to them. So yeah,
we love receiving them. You can also, if you want to become a Detroutee and email us and do so, spinnerspodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter, spinnerspodcast. We should do. You know what we should do, right? We should do a quiz at some point and meet some of our lovely listeners.
Oh, like a Zoom quiz.
Yeah, we could do a Zoom quiz, or we could do a little what's that Twitch thing? We were going to do a Twitch at one point, weren't we?
Yeah, we were going to do a Twitch, and we never did. I can't remember, but I think we
should lazy.
We could do a Twitch quiz, combine the two. But what do you think, listeners? If you're listening to this, email in and tweet us. Would you like to see that? We have put this out before, and people generally said that they did want to see us on Twitch. But would you like a quiz, or are we barking up the wrong tree? Is it of no interest to you? Let us know. I suspect people would be interested in it. Yes. Anyway, that concludes the show. Yeah, I love it. I love going through these. It's so affirming. We're so lucky to get them because I often feel when you're reading something out that God, we don't deserve this. But some people.
It takes all sorts, as my old grandmother used to say.
Yeah.
Who's still alive?
My favourite Peter Kay joke where he's on the sofa and he says, "Oh yeah, no, that was this belonged to my nan." She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." She's like, "No, she's not dead. She just gave it to me. She lives on," or something like that. But
he remembers lots of stuff, doesn't he, old Peter Kay? He loves remembering stuff.
Anyway, take care, guys.
We'll see you soon. Bye bye.